So, welcome to Players of the Week number 4. Welcome to the Daily Crossing. This is Marvin Del Valle. I want to highlight a very interesting movement that's taking place right now. And I want to call it a movement just because, for me, certain politicians are emerging based on what people are thinking, how they feel about certain issues, whether it's the economy, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, a number of things that take place. So, a few of the people that I'm going to highlight for you. Some of them you're very familiar. Interesting enough, everybody we're talking about this is a almost like an international perspective, right? And that movement that is taking place in different continents and is different taking place different countries. To me, you know what I mean. It's also a movement that is coming near home. You know, meaning at some point you're going to see people taking positions and reacting to some of these things. It's a very unusual sequence of things that are taking place just because for many years the conversation has been dominated, socialism and the green movement and a lot of stuff that a lot of people with good intentions, when they think about socialism, they say, well, what's the problem with socialism? It's a good idea to, help somebody else if it's needed. What is the problem with the green movement? It's a good thing with helping maintain, sustain the planet, do good things for it. There's no argument about positive components. Nobody should be arguing against the things that are positive for people, good for the planet, good for countries, good for the individual. But the fact of the matter is that we have witnessed many phenomenal countries, many economies that were ran to the ground. Countries, just to name a few, from Cuba to Venezuela, especially Venezuela right now. We, as a country, we're concerned about the immigration crisis, many other things that we are concerned. But in light of how the economy of a country that at some point was the fourth largest economy, global economy, and that is now ranking somewhere around 100, or probably even worse than that, and how it was destroyed, creating just a lot more poverty, putting people into more trouble. Then you start questioning, well, who's benefiting from this? Because it's not the people, right? And see, if we're going to approach this conversation, we're going to approach it based on what exactly people fear today. What are their concerns? Why do we have certain type of politicians emerging right now? Is who's taking advantage of what message out there? We can all agree that the media is not necessarily supportive of many of these individuals. I'll tell you why, and you'll know quickly. But anyway, let me start right now, right away, with the Prime Minister of Italy. This is an election that goes back to 2022. It's safe to say that Italians haven't been in the far right of anything since. And I don't want to quote Mussolini because that was a fascist government. So we're not lumping anybody to somebody like Mussolini. But what I'm saying is that if you were looking for examples of extreme right, that's an extreme right. The person who's prime minister today, which is Giorgia Meloni, is not somebody that belongs in those groups. As a matter of fact, is just a conservative, somebody that if you put that person next to real far right people, she would probably come across as a maybe center right, even center left a little bit. Given the fact that Italy, just like many other European countries, literally started shifting into socialism so aggressively that today those economies are paying a very high price. The interesting scenario is that she ran based on not only the issues of the economy, but she also ran based on the whole immigration issue that was taking place. Europe experienced, for the last few years, especially coming out of COVID, a massive migration. The amount of immigrants going into Europe, which has always been the topic of conversation for the United States and our southern border. For the first time, we've seen these individuals talking about how much is transforming the actual country, but also they're not able financially to sustain the movement that's taking place from countries coming from the Middle East, specifically going into Europe, that are moving, and it's very difficult to understand. Countries that essentially are wealthy, and when it comes to oil and oil production, why is it that they don't do a better job trying to take on some of their own people that happen to be in the area. Meaning, it would be a lot easier for somebody to, opposed to crossing an ocean per se, to actually just find a different way to integrate in territories that would be closer to them. So why we don't see that happening? Why is it that there is European countries that right now have to become responsible? This raised the level of concern because from Germany being so friendly or so open to the idea of welcoming immigrants, that today are essentially regretting taking the steps. Well, that created a Georgia and Meloni, a female prime minister that is also dealing with some of the positions of the current Pope Francis, who has been, again, very friendly when it comes to the concept of socialism. This is a man that grew up under liberation theology, and so a lot of the concepts that he sees capitalism in a negative way. He sees anything that would be too conservative, too much to the right, in a negative light, which is kind of interesting to say, especially when it's coming from the Pope of the Catholic Church. But the fact of the matter is that she's doing a phenomenal job controlling the massive amount of immigration that was coming to Italy. She's doing a phenomenal job with the economy, and is somebody that essentially helped spark in Europe the need for a different approach. You know what I mean? Just we have to pay attention to whether you like it or not. At some point, you have to fall into that group of the people that are coming up with a nationalistic approach. But they're saying is that, yes, we got to find a way to help as many people that need help. But at the end of the day, before we go rescue the planet, we need to find a way to rescue ourselves. We got to find a way to support our own people. Then you have the recent election that took place out of the Netherlands, right? The Dutch government has a new also prime minister. That would be Geert Wilders. Again, is a conservative party. Here's an interesting fact about what's actually coming out of this election. This election was based on not just a anti-immigration, or I don't want to use the term anti, because it's not so much being against something as much as people that are saying I'm pro something. I don't want to fall into the same gamemanship that a lot of the media are playing, because the only reason why I'm having this conversation with you is I'm looking into how the media is treating these individuals. And that's the temptation, to constantly accuse somebody of anti-something opposed to being pro their country, pro their people, pro growth, pro the protection of their own human rights, pro the protection of their own citizens. You know what I mean? There's absolutely nothing wrong when somebody's trying to preserve their own national heritage, right? And I say this with trying to be as careful as possible, knowing that people use these labels with an incredible negative connotation, which it makes no sense. If you're the head of household, your responsibility is to protect your home. If you're the head of a nation, your responsibility is to protect that nation. So I don't understand why is it that it becomes such an easy target, but it's so easy to turn it around from being pro something, and now you turn it into something that is anti-immigration, but he has taken a very clear position when it comes to dealing with not only immigration, but also when it comes to dealing with Islam. They paying attention to certain trouble areas, and some of the people that came into the country are showing characteristics of things that can be considered unfriendly, unhealthy, not good for the country. So this is the first time that somebody, if you want to use that term, if you're familiar with it's easier for you to adjust to the anti position. Well, this is the first time that you see a politician running in a anti-religion, anti-Islam type of position. He's promising to shut down, Muslim schools, a lot of these Islamic faith centers. Potentially, there's even a possibility of downgrading the faith from a religion to either a political movement, political system, financial system, whatever you want to call it, which, again, some of us has been announcing of the possibility for something like that in different countries, just because it's extremely troubling. I don't know how anybody will successfully be able to do that, but that is part of the language, part of the conversation. Troubling for some people, welcoming for some others. You'll be the judge to see where you fall into this whole situation. And then the biggest thing taking place right now is out of Argentina, right here in our continent, right? We have a new president, Javier Gerardo Milei. is the new president of Argentina. This man has been labeled extreme right, extra far. I don't know how much far what is the description that you got to go to the right of the right, to the right of whatever. But the fact of the matter is that this man is not even a conservative. This man is a libertarian. As a libertarian, he's just looking for non-government intervention. He wants to decentralize he wants to absolutely eliminate the central bank, and that was one of his promises. He wants to dollarize the economy of the country. He's somebody that literally came in at the right time with the Argentinian people saying, wait a minute, we went from being the fifth largest economy, global economy, to here we are right now with the highest level of inflation we have ever experienced as a country. And you have a lot of people struggling financially. You have people that have no choice but to save in dollars because, is the local currency at this point is becoming, again, inflation is turning it into something useless. And so here you have somebody that literally is saying, well, we're going to be changing, we're going to be reducing drastically the size of government. And we're also going to make sure that we can minimize the level of intervention. This man, the only reason, and I want to highlight this, the only reason why this man even got elected, because people are looking for change. People are looking for something completely different. The fact of the matter is, when I'm referring about a movement, what is the movement? The movement has nothing to do with left or right. If the left was effective governing, if the left was effective creating economies and making economies actually stronger, allowing people for the opportunity to have a decent life, the opportunity to provide for their families, the ability to work, the ability to have a job that will give them not only the opportunity to provide for family, but maybe the possibility to even do better and create a little bit of wealth, right? When we're talking about generational wealth, where people in some cases used to produce enough, not just for themselves, but also for the next generations to come, right? So when we're looking into this, what's actually taking place is that a politician was so great as a politician that was able to get a lot of people to endorse them just because they liked him. If you look at the picture of this guy, he looks a little bit, in one end it is the Argentinian Elvis Presley still look, he's trying to, not that good looking, by the way, just a little bit of the hairdo that you look at the man and you're saying, why was this man elected? Well, I don't know how much of it has to do with him and how much has to do with the people that are just saying, you know what, we had enough. We had enough. The economy is not going well. We need something different. And politicians, be aware, because you're going to have a lot of people inside and outside of the country that right now, that's the way they see it. They're asking that question. Why are these changes taking place in other countries? And what kind of changes do we need to see taking place in our own country? Finally, I want to highlight just a couple of people for a number of reasons. Eduardo Verastegui is an actor, Mexican actor. He was the executive producer to the movie Sound of Freedom, that many people at this point, became familiar about all the child trafficking that was disclosed and announced. Something that's been going on for many years. It became a life project to find a way to get the movie out there. They did a phenomenal job producing the movie. Again, describes a very difficult situation. He's actually running for president of Mexico right now. Again, part of a movement that I'm saying we don't want to deal with a traditional politician. We don't want to deal with the same level of promises that anybody's making. He's running as an independent, somebody that supports life, somebody that supports, again, family, the children, what most people will consider conservative values. But in reality, it's more common sense values, right? The certain things, once you break it down, you realize that there's nothing far right about the conversation. But I'm highlighting for you what the sentiment of the people happens to be at this very moment. Why are they thinking like that? And by the way, probably nobody had a greater example, a greater impact than somebody like Nayib Bukele, which is definitely somebody that we wanted to highlight. As we go through these individuals, you know what I mean? And we're saying, obviously, player number one was Giorgia Meloni. And player number two was Geert Wilders. And player number three being Javier Milei. We have to include as a player number four, Eduardo Verastegui. And we have to include, definitely as a player number 5, Nayib Bukele. What this man has done in this country in a short amount of time is nothing less than remarkable. The financial transformation, the peace and security has been added to the country. Right now, just to see the amount of projects that are developing, the amount of companies that want to go in there, they voting with their dollars, they are going to make investments. There's also an incredible amount of companies that announced that they will be now making investments, even in Argentina. They see it as a potential possibility that the economy will go in the right direction. But the blueprint right now, whether people like it or not, was absolutely provided by Nayib Bukele. He's a 42-year-old individual who's the current president of El Salvador, who took this country from being one of the most corrupt, troubled, dangerous, gang-dominated, related issues and problems connected to everything that was dealing with crime and kidnapping and drug dealing and all of those things. That's what was that was the current situation of El Salvador before he takes it over. Today is one of the safest countries, guys. Like please, whether we like somebody sometimes, and I have some very good friends from El Salvador, they still don't like the guy. They're still saying, because sometimes we become so sold out or so committed to a political party that we don't allow any kind of common sense. So you left the country, you were not willing to go back to the country, and your argument was always the lack of safety. You finally have safety. You're still not willing to say something positive about this man and the work that they have done as a government. And this is somebody that will deserve his own full video. We are going to provide you with a video so you can understand the many accomplishments that I'm talking about. But here's the one thing that I want to highlight, right? The reason why I hope you watch videos like this, and if not from me, from many other people that are stepping outside of the traditional media, if you Google, if you search any of these individuals whose name I just gave you right now, everything, again, the description will be far right. The description will be authoritarian. The description will be people that are making dictatorships look fashionable. People that will make even a Nayib Bukele as that. So this moment, if you go into anything that has to do with the description of this man, there's nothing that talks about what a phenomenal job he has done to provide real safety to the citizens of El Salvador, who will right now, if he goes for re-election, and he announced that he's going to go for re-election, he's got right now 70+% support. Some cases, some people are saying that the real number is more an overwhelming 85% support by the citizens of El Salvador to re-elect him. That tells you something. That tells you about the gratitude, right? Well, the media wants to paint a different picture, but the fact of the matter is that there's real gratitude from people that are saying, we are safer. We're not getting killed. We're not going through the same scenarios. We have real economy and financial mobility. There's real possibility. There's countries, other countries that are investing into our country. The economy is getting better. People are getting to the point where they can see a real future. People are finally saying, you know what? We don't have to leave our country. We don't have to go somewhere else. We can create our own future here. And for anybody that wants to control the issue that we have going on in our border, we need plenty of presidents in Latin America to provide that kind of opportunity for their own citizens so that they don't have a reason to start heading to the United States. So for anybody that's not familiar, look into what Nayib Bukele has been able to do for this country, but also look into the irony of how the media has absolutely nothing positive to say for the people that numbers don't lie. You look at the numbers, but they have nothing positive to say for people that have done so far, as of this moment, a phenomenal job. Now, here's the only concern that I voiced at the beginning, and I will again echo it again in all fairness to some people that do have a concern. Right? What happens when somebody does such a phenomenal job and it's time to give it back? What if they don't give it back? And then you turn that into a dictatorship. I don't care if a dictatorship from the left, from the right, from the center, or whatever you want to call it. A dictatorship is never a good thing for anyone, but eventually it's going to end up pretty bad, right? So what I'm hoping for is that He will look into the history of our own country here in the United States. That he will look into what our first president was able to do, George Washington, when there were calls for him to become the first king of the new free colonies. The what made him a remarkable president was the fact that he, when it came time, he gave it back to the people. So since then, we've been experiencing uninterrupted elections, which again it gives a different level of security. I hope that Nayib Bukele, when it's time for him to give it back, that he will do it without any reservation for the benefit of the people that he has been helping tremendously. But anyway, with that being said, congratulations to the new prime ministers, to the new presidents. Congratulations to and best of luck for Eduardo Verastegui running for president for Mexico, and congratulations on Nayib Bukele on a success, incredible success with everything that you're doing for your country and for the benefit of your people. For you watching here, please pass it around. Make sure that people understand that there is a little bit of a movement taking place out there. The people are thinking in a different way. The people are really looking for real change, not for socialism, not for things that eventually will just find a way to put one citizen against the other. We're looking for opportunity. We're looking for a new future, new possibilities. So I welcome you and invite you to take a look at this information. If you like, pass it around. Comment, please. I want to know if there's anybody that you would like us to highlight when it comes to this conversation. We will be more than happy to do so for you. Until the next one, I'm grateful for you watching us. We'll see you soon.